It's been a little while since we last played, but we are in Dungeon 2, Snake's Remains. To catch you up on what we've missed out, we've got the Rod of the Seasons and the first season, which is Winter, which allowed us to navigate the icy cold waters. Well, to make the waters icy cold. So, this dungeon I don't have particularly good memory of, so we're going to run this mostly blind. If I was feeling effortful, I would have practiced this beforehand, but I really think I just need to get back into this. Now, despite opening those lamps, despite using those lamps, I think this is the first place to go. Now, I think it's pretty obvious by all the pots that this is the Power Bracelet dungeon, which in Oracle of the Seas of Ages was the first dungeon, but in this, second, because for some reason the Seed Satchel was deemed a dungeon item for Seasons, which is something I never quite understood. Seed Satchel always felt like an item that should be just a generic thing because it's so versatile. But then again, I guess it's fair enough. Seasons has a few odd dungeon choices for items, like the second level of the Boomerang, which is possibly one of my favourite Zelda items and has had huge impact on Zelda formula, as since then a number of boomerangs have been homing devices rather than just straight up thingamajigs. That's not a good description. Anyway. Oh look! A set of blocks. One of them's out of place. I wonder what will happen. Yeah. Go, go, go out of order blocks. You know, I must confess that it's only been the last little while that I've really noticed how obvious some of these puzzles are, but they're only really obvious once you've already solved them. And everyone has to play these games once, I guess. Oh look, it's an arrow. Oh, really nice minor change between Link's Awakening and the Oracles is that when you slash a bomb on a wall, you get a clink. And you get that different sound. In Link's Awakening, you actually had to charge your sword and then poke every wall, which is not really fun. I mean, it's still kind of a bad system overall, I guess, but it's not as bad as it could be. Ooh. Are some of these 5 rupees and some not? That's a bit perplexing. Oh well. Yay, finances! Link the Chartered Accountant. Although, honestly, I don't think a chartered accountant would quite go about these things the way he does, but anyway. Now, I generally try and avoid using keys until I have to, because that ensures that I've explored the dungeon a little bit more thoroughly. Even though there is a map that I could be using, I tend to be really forgetful with the map. Oh look, now they're aligned. I think in my Link's Awakening Let's Play, I mentioned vaguely that a lot of Zelda puzzles are about seeing a pattern, and then deciding to either break the pattern or ensure things conform to it. They look like power bracelet things, which means that the power bracelet is not too far away. And bombs. Bombs also work a bit differently compared to Link's Awakening if you were watching that Let's Play as well. So here, bombs start off from a picked up position, whereas Link's Awakening, they were by default placed down. Okay then, let's see what we have here. I love these little dungeon segments, I think they're kinda cool. They always look a bit awkward because they're definitely forcing an engine that's designed for a top-down perspective into 2D. That is not useful to me yet. So if I went up to those objects, they would tell me, oh, you need a power bracelet. Where is your power bracelet? You should have a power bracelet. Which, unfortunately, I don't have yet. However. Yeah, anyway, regarding the bombs change, I'm not particularly sure I think it's a great idea. Most of the time, Link in the 2D Zeldas doesn't actually really want to throw bombs, to be honest. He generally wants to place them down somewhere he already knows is correct. So it really just adds an extra button press that doesn't need to be there. The only real benefit it has, which I think is a fair enough one, is that it ties it a little bit closer to the 3D Zeldas, which, you know, at the time, you know, since they existed then, were a little bit more popular perhaps than other Zelda games were. Okay then. Oh yes, I'm gonna need bombs too. Ah. Ah. And also, if you're not pressing a direction... What am I saying? If you're not pressing a direction, you end up with a lesser thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say something. Oh, if you don't press a direction while trying to throw away the bombs, they stay still, which can be quite aggravating. Rightio then. Power bracelet. Now, does memory serve me right? No, it doesn't. Anyway. Power bracelet! I can throw things! For some reason, I thought for a moment that I could, pick them up after stunning them. But apparently not, so I will be content with my current skill set. And kill the snake. And kill the snake. And then walk over here. I've never found Power Bracelet dungeons particularly interesting, to be perfectly frank. Picking up heavy stuff in the 2D Zeldas doesn't change much, and really, especially since we already have Projectile, it doesn't even add much to your toolset. All it is a glorified key, much more so than other items, and while most Zelda items are, I guess, glorified keys, the problem seems particularly exemplified by the Power Bracelets. So... and we push. Ah! I forgot that they went backwards. That is something that I should really keep in mind. Let's see what's down here. And of course we have to remember the other, Duvalaki. The other area which we saw these, things in. Come on. Oh, so I need to actually hold B to do that. Yay, it's a Gasha Seed! And where does that take me in the dungeon? The boss area I'm gonna have a quick guess at, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Pretty nifty, but I don't need those. And again, sorry about the music stuff, I really haven't been able to figure this out. That sounds like a key, which I'm going to assume is a boss key. And now we know why they were selling the bombs. It's quite enterprising, actually. I'm surprised more merchants don't set themselves up in Zelda dungeons. It seems like a really lucrative way to make money, given that you've got... there must be other adventurers who go in and try and solve these dungeons. It makes a lot of sense, although, since getting into them is a bit difficult mostly... What? What? I don't remember this puzzle. I'm a bit baffled. Well, I better make the most of this. I assume that this is just a simple time limit. I hope this is just a simple time limit. If it's more than a simple time limit, I don't know what's going on, and it should be an interesting puzzle to solve because of that. Hopefully. That looks like just time limit, and go... Got it! Excellent. Okay then. I must admit that took me by surprise. I'd totally forgotten about that. And you know what? Zelda games don't offer much surprise anymore for me. So it's really quite pleasant to have that happen. And hold down this so we actually move it. And again. And It's a real pity 2D Zeldas are the Game Boy Zeldas, I should say, really, are plagued by the constant need to switch items. It's something that other Zeldas have always had difficulty dealing with, but either had some solution, like a generic general use button, or having more buttons. Whether it be Link to the Past, General Action button, or the 3D Zelda's 3-button things, or even, to some extent, not Twilight Princess's, Skyward Sword's use of just straight up, you have to change your item all the time, but the system's clearly designed around that with a very neat interface for it. Okay then, be careful about falling down, I gather. Power Brace is not as powerful as it is in Link's Awakening. Like, the sheer distance that it travels is so much less. It doesn't matter too much. Boss, what is this boss? I don't know. Oh, him. If you watch Link's Awakening, you might remember that he's an actual real boss. There's a part of me that feels it's a bit cheap, perhaps, to just have a reprint of the original Zelda Link's Awakening boss in here. But he was a very unusual boss. Like, it's nice, and you don't really have much reason, I guess, like, or much ability to see that kind of boss in a 3D Zelda game, because they're kind of dependent on the overhead perspective, I guess. I mean, obviously it could work, but it's something that more naturally suits a 2D Zelda game with an overhead perspective, because, well, you actually see the floor a little bit more often, or on a bit bigger scale, I guess. Although, I would certainly love to see what would happen if we gave the 3D Zelda the Link's Awakening bosses. Ah yes, these guys. I don't have an instrument yet, so I can't remember how we're really supposed to kill these. I'm going to assume bombs. Ah. Great, and nearly done. Now these guys can actually be killed by any sound. In the original NES game, actually, the Player 2 controller has, and the Japanese Famicom, I should say, really, has a microphone in it, and you could kill them by shouting into it, basically. Later Zeldas continue this by allowing anyone to, basically, thingamajig. That's not a great description. Why can't I think of my words today? Oh, these things. They're a really nice mechanic that make these sort of central room things quite fun. Anyway, the original Zelda had this this microphone killing of the Pulse Voices, which got to extend into the 3D Zeldas, the later Zeldas, by having you being able to use any instrument to kill them. Of course, currently I don't have an instrument, but if I did, it would be vicious. Okay then, now obviously I can't use that yet because I don't have the boss key. So... what is going on here? Combat in Zelda games is a very interesting position, I think, generally actually, that's worth mentioning. And the reason why I think it's worth mentioning is that mostly Zelda games aren't about combat, but combat is a part of them, and combat mostly exists off puzzles, which is why I was quite impressed actually with Skyward Sword's willingness to make enemies a little bit more puzzly by making them less in number, and each specific enemy a little bit more thoughtful in terms of their actual boss abilities. Not their boss abilities, a bit more thoughtful in terms of their, why can't I think? Oh. What? A little bit more thoughtful with, how you actually fight them. It made them a little bit more puzzly, so they actually fitted in with the theme of the rest of the game. little bit more. Now, Skyward Sword had lots of other issues, and I personally got quite bored of it before the first dungeon was even finished, which is really not a great sign. Radio then. Oh, I guess I can use, the thing. Except, wait, no I can't. Okay then, go around the long way. Now that I think about it, the use of that in this dungeon is very unusual. I guess it's good to introduce it early because later dungeons really revolve around those, and they're actually quite nice planning puzzles. But, yeah, can't win everything. My word, this is an awful episode. Which I really shouldn't say. I mean, it's sort of rule 1, don't talk about your Let's Play quality in the Let's Play itself. But I just feel the need to actually get something out here because I've been worrying too much about trying to make it good and excellent, which is a very good fear to have, I guess. But hey, it's all practice. Ah, the Dongo boss. He should be opening his mouth soon. Oh, that's right, I remember now. It is entirely, Bomb and Power Bracelet based. Because we pick him up and we throw him onto the thing. And then we get hurt more. Now, I was reading recently that in actual fact Seasons was supposed to be a remake of the first Zelda game, which I think is kind of an interesting thing and explains the first dungeon a little bit more. So, the first dungeon had the same boss as Link originally fought in the first dungeon of Zelda 1. Well, what would normally be the first dungeon, as Zelda 1's a little bit more open than other Zelda games, so it would probably be possible to take an entirely different approach to that particular dungeon. Well, we're just about over, so thank you for bearing with me as I'm getting used to going back to Let's Plays and things, and I hope that I'll actually get this finished in the not too distant future. I think I'm going to focus on Seasons now, and then go straight to Ages, as opposed to doing one then the other, because I was going to do just straight both, but I think I'll do this, then the secret playthrough of the Ages, because I've changed my mind. The gift of time! I wish I had more of that. Yatta! And ominous messages with leaves. Always need good old ominous message with leaves. Oh, not ominous message. Okay then. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.